Hello, my name's Sarah, and we're going to be looking at yarn weaving today. It's been an absolutely beautiful day here. I hope it's been lovely where you are. I thought that I would also look at teaching you the skills of how to make an actual loom. So we're going to be looking at making something very similar to this today, using willow twigs. And you can get willow twigs from craft shops and online if you search for willow twigs for crafting. This is a very rustic one. It's actually got another branch going off there. You can obviously sand them down and varnish them if you want to. I quite like the more rustic look. So we're going to, first of all, build our looms. These willow twigs are 15 centimeters in length. Obviously, you can go bigger. These are about 12 over 20, I think. You can choose whatever length you like, but I think just for the purposes of today, I thought I'd just go for the smaller loom. So we need 4 15 centimeter willow twigs, and as I say, you can sand down the ends if you want to. I don't tend to do that. So yes, the first thing really is to tie our willow twigs together to make our loom, to make our frame that we're going to weave onto. Now, I did say about 1.5 centimetre in the instructions for the nail. But you can try whatever you've got lying around, or you can go out and buy them for this purpose. But the best thing to do when you're choosing the length of nail, size of nail that you're going to use, is just check that it will go through both pieces of the willow, because we're going to be banging them one into the other. So that's okay. I deliberately chose twigs that were a bit thinner today, so that works fine. And then what I find helps us enormously is if we bind our willow twigs together in this way. Now, any gardeners amongst you, me including, will be familiar with tying bamboo canes together. So it's a similar process. So we just want to kind of secure our twigs together before we bang the nails in. Just makes life a little bit easier. Okay, just bear with. I'm going to tie a knot in there. We'll move the screen down in a moment. Last time I was on here, I was hammering things, and today I'm going to be hammering things as well. We'll come to that. So, yeah, I've successfully tied one willow twig to the other. I've got an L shape. Now, the other thing to remember is if we look at our frame that I made earlier, we can see that we've got the two, one they're laying on top of each other. The two on the top are the ones that we're going to be weaving onto. You don't want it that way round. We want it with the twigs that are on the top to be where we will do our weaving, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I will just pop that down and continue to tie some more twigs on. You could use wire for this, potentially. I find that it's just a bit more malleable with using the yarn. Obviously, you could use string, you could use twine, and you can use all of the above for weaving in general. You know, it's a very flexible medium. Okay, so if I just move this down slightly. So I would go for just trying to arrange them. You want to have enough weaving space as possible. So as near the top as you are brave enough to go, really, so that it gives you more bigger frame, really, or bigger loom. Okay, so go under that one. Okay, so I want to go a bit further down. I think it's quite nice to build, and you can adjust these before you put the nails in as well. Quite nice to build your own loom. Not only have you done a weaving, but you've created the loom as well. And I think it's quite nice when it's all done and to keep it in its loom. It's traditional to take them off, but it creates like a nice frame. And this is one that I did a while ago, and I kept it on its frame, on its loom, and I hung it in my kitchen because I have a yellowy kitchen. And if you can see some of the yellow, some of the colour in there, and I've added beads, which I'll come to as well. So that's the size that we're going to be creating. So that's a 15 centimetre square, give or take, millimetres. Okay, so we've got, this one's a little bit more, will be a little bit more secure. It's a longer piece of yarn, that's why. I'm going to wrap it around both ways, if you like. A cross shape. Oops. Okay. And at this stage, you've got that malleability to make sure that it's in the shape that you want. You do need to put nails in afterwards, and I will show you, because otherwise the frame will come out of shape. Okay, some more. So where are we? Just adjust that slightly. And as you're twisting your twigs around your piece, you can find where it sits better on the other piece of willow, because you get all the knots and things like that in the twigs. And these are really twigs. Willow, as you may be aware, is really popular with crafting. The possibilities are endless. Okay, wrap that around that one. Wrap that one around there. Great. Yep. I'll turn that over and tie that. It looks a little bit, I know it looks a little bit scruffy at this stage, but there is method in our madness. Okay, so we're getting there now. I'm just going to adjust that a little bit. I might need to do that one again, actually, it's not very good. Okay. And last piece. So this is effectively the back of the loom. Okay. Yes, you will work. Let's tie that one in there just to secure that. And of course, as I said, you can use any type of, you can use yarn, you can use string, you can use twine, any colour, obviously. I keep going with green, I don't know why. I just quite like it. It's that natural colour. Yeah, I think I probably should have gone with a bigger one for this one, but I'm going to persevere. Just tie that there. As I say, I'm going to be putting some nails in as well. And you can take these off, or again, you can take, it's about your choice and whatever design you want to create, the look that you want to create. I have kept mine on. I quite like that rustic look. But once you have your nails in and you feel that they're quite secure, you can take these off. So otherwise, but as I say, you do need your nails, or else it's going to go woohoo. I mean, the thing with this is you could, secure it like that if you wanted to, and you could make a design for the garden. Oh, look. Yes, I've done that wrong, haven't I? Yeah. This is just to show you what can go wrong. You can tie it so it's on the wrong way round. There you go. Demonstration of what not to do, which can be just as useful. Okay, so we'll tie that properly now and bring that round. And that is another reason why I don't put the nails in first. Just gives me a little bit more flexibility, which is my favourite word. Like things to be flexible. Okay, so just adjust those slightly. And I'm happy with that as a square. And as you can see, the twigs that are on top, that is going to be the top of our weaving. It's more prominent and makes it easier to hang it as well afterwards. So now I'm going in with the nails. Once you're happy with your shape. Now I generally try to put the nail in the midst of the ties that I've got here. But I'm just going to go for it. It does require patience, like most crafting exercises. And adjusting. Just making sure that it's straight. This is a thing as well. We know how nails can work, even in walls. When they hit something, they start bending and going into slant. So I'm just going to persevere. It may be that it's not going to work where you're trying to hit it in. Okay, and obviously you just take it out and adjust it. Let's take that out and adjust it. It wasn't liking that, whatever it was hitting there, it wasn't liking it. So I'm going to come back to that one. That's much better. That's gone in well. And I just have a little look and see how it's looking. Sometimes they do go out the side. Just check that it's gone through to the other piece. And also you don't want to be catching your fingers on it or anyone else's fingers on it. Okay, so now we've got one that's fairly secure. And the great thing about it is obviously you can fiddle around and just make sure that you take your time. Yeah. Again, patience. It will go in. It will go in. Just sounds a bit better. Good. Okay. Progress. So I usually put the nails in at the top, at the front of the piece. Looks a bit better, obviously. Okay, we've got three nails in. Brilliant. Okay. Last one. Last but not least. Just secure it with your finger. Yeah. You know, this is a rustic piece, there's no doubt about it. But that's what I love about it. You know, that it's handmade in the truest sense. I'm just gonna. This is the sort, you know, when you're doing a demonstration, this is the sort of thing, you know, where you just got to go with what happens. And hope for the best. But, you know, it shows you some of the things that can go wrong, but some of the challenges. It has taught me. Yeah, that sounds good. I don't know about you, but crafting has taught me an enormous amount of patience. Okay, so we have a constructed frame and it's pretty secure. But as I say, take your time. You might have to take out nails, try again, try different nails, securing your ties better. All manner of things challenges we can face as crafters. So we have our loom. Ta-da! Handmade loom in under 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And now we're going to warp our loom. Now, for warping a loom, you can use a number of materials. I'm going to use yarn. You can obviously use string or twine. Bearing in mind that twine can be quite hairy, though. That's one thing to remember. So this is our front, this is our top, and this is our bottom. So we've got our top twigs at the front, as I mentioned. And the first thing that we need to do is just literally tie our yarning. So we're going to say warp our loom and our warping yarn, if you like. I'm going to secure that with just a simple knot at the bottom. And then we're literally going to just wrap it round. So let me just lift this up a little bit while I'm doing this. Now, what you want to do is aim for a even number of warps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, in terms of tension, that's the word. You want it to be tight, but not too tight. Because bear in mind, you are going to be, this is always the thing in crafting, it's a tight, but not too tight. And you're supposed to kind of guess what that is. You want it to be not as tight as a highly strung guitar. Not quite as tight as that. You want a little bit of wriggle room, but they should be fairly, the tension should be fairly good as you're twisting round. I think we naturally do, we're gripping on, as it were, as we're twisting around. So as I said, we want an even number. In terms of quantity, I mean, obviously, you usually buy the skeins. They're usually 100-gram balls of wool. You can get the 50-gram ones. 50-gram ball of yarn is going to be, or wool is going to be fine. I feel yarn, obviously synthetic. It tends to be perhaps a little bit easier. Wool can obviously, can be quite hairy, I suppose. So it could be, in terms of, that's why a lot of people tend to use string, and you can buy string specifically for weaving, of course, and different thicknesses. You can get really technical with it all. I'm keeping mine fairly simple with things that people can find at home or may have in their craft stock. I've got a whole divan bed drawer full of yarn. Well, that's one area I've got yarn, but so yarn tends to kind of breed, doesn't it, over the years. So that's the great thing about this particular project. So as I say, we want to have an even number because weaving is about under and over, basically, as I'm sure you're aware. So we want an even number. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I'm going to go for 18 on this one. Push those down a little bit because you want to kind of keep those even spaces. You can come back to that though, obviously, when you've finished. I think I counted 16. Okay. 19. 18. Okay, I'll just count that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Okay, so if you want to go on to be more technical with your weaving, people usually go for 6 warps per inch, which is, so you'd mark on your piece. Obviously, this is a bit too small to do that, but if you had a much bigger frame, you'd mark along, measure out an inch along the bottom, along here, and put a little mark with a knife or with a black pencil, where that inch was, and then you would try to have 6 of these within each inch. But I'm not going to be dealing with that with such a small piece like this. Okay, and then I'm just going to. So I had the 18. Now the one that you start with, you don't tend to use. So I'm going to need to put another one on there. So I'm just going to just arrange these so that they're evenly spaced on this top edge. But as I say, you can keep adjusting. You can keep adjusting as you're going along. There we go. So for me, that's really kind of 17. And then just adjust the bottom ones as well. So 0.5 centimetre really in between each piece of yarn. Oh, I've got a little bit of knot in the wood there, which is catching on. So just be mindful of things like that. As I say, you can sand them down, varnish them if you so wish. Okay, there we go. That's another one. I quite like all that detail though. Little knots and things in the wood. And I guess you could always cut these willow twigs to size. If you bought some, you could cut 4 of the same size twigs if you had a long piece. So I'm just going to cut that yarn. Oh, what's happened to my scissors? Too much use, given up on me. Right, so the other end then now, I've just cut that off the ball of wool. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the other side at the bottom, where I'm going to tie this piece and knot this piece. I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times, secure it a little bit better. And then I'm going to put it under that last piece, so in between the last 2 warps that I did, and then tie that to that last warp that you did. Okay. So you may have heard of, warps and wefts. And the next thing is obviously we're going to start doing some weaving. Just going to make sure that's tied on. Yay, brilliant. Move that a little bit down a bit. And cut off any long ends, obviously. You don't want them getting in the way of your piece. Move that out of the way. Brilliant. We now have a warped loom. Nothing to do with Star Trek or anything like that. Right, move that down. So yeah, just keep adjusting these so that you've got them evenly spaced, because that will maintain the integrity of your piece in terms of its shape. And as you're weaving, you will notice that often happens, as it happened with this. You can see that the bottom is slightly longer than the top. There is this kind of natural decreasing that goes on, and that's just about as you're going along checking. I don't think that's too bad, but there's been other pieces where I've had to unpick them because they're just too the tension wasn't right for me. So as I say, there's always that flexibility to move things around. For the purposes then of weaving, I use a yarning needle. You don't have to, you can use your finger, but I just prefer it. I just think there's a little bit more precision when I'm doing it. Okay. Just going to make sure these are evenly spaced. Now we need to secure our bottom, the bottom of our loom. And to do that, I'll turn this over and let's cut these bits off. These are some different scissors. There seem to be find some different scissors. Much better. They feel a little bit sticky. I must have done something sticky earlier. So to secure our bottom, we want to find two lengths, if you like, and a little bit more. Then make sure we've got the right size. And then I'm going to use my yarn to do this. And this is a kind of a dummy layer. This is just to secure our the shape of our warp, our warping, our loom, our weave in place. So always start, so it's up and over, under and over. So always start going over that first piece, because you're going to be then, and then work way, and then you're going to be tying that end to the frame. So work your way under and over piece. So over, under, all the way along. Where am I? So I'm over. Now, you know, just keep checking as you're going along whether you need to go under or over for your piece. Great. Push that down to the bottom. That's just securing your frame. Tie that round, secure that. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Come on through. Come on through. Lovely. Rather not. Okay, right at the end. So then we want to go under. Sorry, wrap that round. Last end. What time are we on? It's okay, we've got time to get on with the weaving. And then we want to go up again. We want to go over, we want to go under. That's it. Basically back where we came. To the end. And this is just, as I call it, securing the bottom of our piece. It's just a dummy layer. Under. Great. And I'm going to tie that around there. Pull that out. Find my end from the other piece that I put in the first row. And tie that in a knot there as well. Lovely. I'm just having a look back. Try. Is it? Let's have a look and see if there's been any questions. Is it opposite under over for second row? Yes, absolutely. You're going in the opposite direction. Thank you for that question. Because we've created then that is the weaving style. We've created a dummy couple of rows of weaving just to kind of secure that bottom and secure our frame on all sides. So we've got obviously our warping, and then we've got a secured wefting rows. Okay, put that away. Okay, in terms of yarn, obviously the world's your oyster. You can use any type of yarn or string or ribbon. I've got a couple of pieces to show you. So this is one where ribbon has been used. I can't actually, this is a piece that my friend did. But as you can see, she's secured it. She's taken the rest of the, she's secured it onto a piece of, looks like driftwood actually. So, yeah, that's kind of one idea. So I'm going to look at that as well. Okay, so where did I put my yarn and needle? There it is. Panic stations. So I've chosen to use this multicolored psychedelic yarn here. I wanted a good contrast today with the white. So in terms of how much you're going to need, again, you can use the same where we actually laid, always leave some for wiggle room. I think we're all good at doing that. Pretty wasteful. But I usually go for about 3 or 4 lengths of the loom as a starting point. And as somebody has asked, you always go in the opposite direction each time. So when I look at this, and I usually start from the left-hand side when I'm working. So I can see there that the last piece at the end was an over. So I want to do an under. And keep checking. It's so easy to get it wrong. And then you'll see the white. When you do that too often, you will see the white of the warping thread coming through. And then you've got the painstaking task of having to unweave, if that's even a word, or take it all out. That's the basic principle then. Once you've made your loom, you're away, you're off. Don't forget you need your bottom 2 rows, and then you can weave to your heart's content. And there's so much inspiration out there of ideas. I think this is a good starter because it's not too difficult. In terms of ambition. Excuse me. And just gives you that general, gets you used to the process. Where we've got. Okay, great. See if there's any more comments. No. So yeah, that basic principle of under and over. It looks like I've gone right there. Brilliant. I just always check that first. I check as I'm going along when I finished a row, really. See I'm on the right track. And as I say, just be mindful of the gathering that can happen at the end there as you're working up. It'll just start getting narrower and narrower. And what I tend to do is I kind of pull as I'm going along, and just keeping that tension right. Making sure that the ends don't catch on your frame, which is easy done. So we'll do a few more rows. So relaxing. With a frame like this, it's lovely. You could, make a present for somebody. You can personalize things, and you can just sit. You don't need a lot. Once you've made your loom and you're away, you're off weaving. You don't need a lot of materials to continue working on it, which is just lovely. So you can sit and just while away the hours. Maybe even sit in the garden and do it, or watch TV. Sit in bed with a little loom, with a little loom like this, and just while away the hours. You can see that. Now keep pushing this down, and then you will see the white of the warp disappearing. It's like magic. And this is a great thing to do, perhaps with children as well. You don't need a lot of sharp things. Obviously, supervise with scissors, obviously, but it's quite fun. And as I mentioned, we can add embellishments to our pieces. We can add beads. This is a lovely wooden bead that I'm going to show you how to do. So I'm just going to charge on, under and over. If you wanted to take your piece off your loom, you wanted to keep the loom for another inspired project, what you will need to do is you'll cut it from the back about an inch from the bottom there and an inch from the top there. Just being mindful that things can start slipping off. And then you can literally just tie, because you've got them in even numbers, you can just tie those 2 threads together. And that will secure your weave, and then you can choose however you want to display it, in whatever method. I for this piece obviously chose to use wire. So I've got some wire there that I've secured to the willow twigs. Again, just keeping it quite rustic, really, with this particular piece. But you could use string, of course. Or you could look at a way of just hanging it with some nails through the frame. So constantly pushing it down. There are tools and things that you can get to do these things. I find fingers work just as well. A little bit more malleable as well, and a bit more gentle. So we can start to see now, as that's coming together, that we can't really see the white underneath. Okay. What time are we on? Okay. So in terms of adding beads, you want to make sure when you add a bead that it's on and over. Some needles will obviously go through, and beads, some won't. You might have to poke that through with your fingers. And you can use any size. Now it just makes it that you've got something else now to work with while you're weaving. So just be mindful of that. But it works better on an over. Okay, so go through there, and then I can, just as I've pushed it through a couple of others, I can start kind of positioning that better, securing that better. And that's it. And just being mindful all the time of our sides, our tension. But it's nice. It just adds another element of bling, if you like. And as I mentioned, we can use ribbon as well. So I've got some yellow ribbon. Same process. So I want to go under that one. Under that one, each alternate thread. There we go. Alternate thread. Okay. Seeing if there's any more comments. No, that's fine. We've got some ribbon in there. And as the piece I showed you before, you can just leave those hanging at the side if you want to. If you want to kind of have a little quite free piece. But yeah, that's so we've learned how to make a loom, which is the most important thing for weaving. Just remember to secure your loom with a dummy couple of rows there, under and over. Start your weaving. Have fun. It's so relaxing. You don't need an awful lot of materials. And you can add embellishments, making sure that they're on your over, not your under. Yeah, have lots of fun. And anything that you can thread through some yarn can work really well for weaving. And as I say, you can take it off, an inch from the bottom, tie those on, and hang it as you please. It's been really wonderful. Thank you for joining me today.